Welcome back to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. Let's get some reaction to what we just heard from House Speaker Paul Ryan. Joining me now, Kayleigh McEnany. She's a CNN political commentator and Trump supporter. Also here, CNN political commentator S.E. Cupp and CNN chief political correspondent Dana Bash. We do have some more of that Paul Ryan interview that we're going to air in a second. But first, I want to get everyone's reaction. Kayleigh, let's start with you. This is a pretty dramatic development. The Speaker of the House, a Republican, the vice presidential candidate in 2012, saying that as of now, he cannot support Donald Trump.
Sure, and I have immense respect for Paul Ryan. I want to start there. He's a great figure in our party. But that being said, you know, he, by my count, called for unity 18 times in that interview. We still have the second half that we have yet to hear. If he wants unity so much, he can't wait from behind. He has to take the lead on this and get on board the way Mitch McConnell has and unify this party. He doesn't have the luxury to sit on the sidelines. It's irresponsible. I don't think it's fair. I think he should listen to the voters. Donald Trump will have the most votes of any Republican nominee in history. And quite frankly, I think the American people, the Republican voters, are a lot smarter than Paul Ryan and the people who aren't getting on board. So I think it's time that the party listen to their voters. I respect Paul Ryan, but he needs to take a cue from Mitch McConnell and do what he did.
S.E., I know you're not a big fan of Mr. Trump. What's your take?
Well, and I am a big fan of Speaker Ryan's. He's a man of integrity and deep passion about the future of conservatism. And that's why he's not just going to get on board without making known that this candidate has some problems and has said some controversial things that he can't support. It was essentially, I think, Paul Ryan doing a Jerry Maguire, you know, help me help you kind of a message to Trump to say, look, I want to get on board. It's not impossible. It's important to unify, but we've got to come together here. There's been some deeply unconservative, unconstitutional policies floated. Some of the rhetoric has been damaging. Paul Ryan has been around to see the conservative movement go through the heartache and struggle of trying to rebrand, re-identify, reach new voters, and to see all of that sort of collapse with this candidate, I know is personally and politically an affront to Paul Ryan.
Dana, you know Paul Ryan very well, the House Speaker. He's been saying for months he's going to support the nominee. Mm-hmm. Today he says he can't right now.
I just want to say this was a seismic event just now. It was a great scoop, Jake. I really genuinely thought that you did a great job with that interview because you were really pressing him on what Kayleigh was just talking about the unity factor. You know, it takes two to unify, right? And the fact that he is doing this, he said even in your interview that he was surprised by this. And I talked to a source just as you were finishing up the interview who's familiar with Ryan's thinking, who said it did come on very fast. He genuinely did think Cruz was going to stay in this race, and he thought this was going to be a contested convention. But part of the reason why he did this, besides the fact that he was going with his gut, was that this gives Republicans breathing space, especially the people who are under him, the rank-and-file House Republicans. It allows them to not be tied to Donald Trump immediately while they try to figure out where things are going with him in the party.
And let's bring our viewers the second part of the interview. Speaker Paul Ryan is going to have to gavel in the convention in Cleveland and set to coronate Trump as the Republican Party's standard bearer. But can he stomach that if Donald Trump doesn't reverse his positions on things like his proposed Muslim ban and more? Let's play that tape. You will be gaveling in the convention as the Speaker of the House. If he hasn't become this Reagan-esque, Lincoln-esque, Jack Kemp-esque nominee that you need him to be, that you want him to be in order for you to say that you support him, what are you going to do? Can you manage the convention if you haven't yet decided that you can support him?
Look, I'm just a guy giving you my peace of mind. I'm a lifelong conservative who feels passionate about these principles and how they're necessary to save our country and get us on the right track. We are on the wrong track as a country. And we stay down this road much further with Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, it's going to be ugly for this country. And so I desperately want to see us unify on principles and ideas and policies and an agenda and win the hearts and the minds of the vast majority of Americans and speak to everybody. And I am hoping that that's where this goes, but I don't know that that's where it's going to go. As the chair of the convention, which is something as part of my duty as Speaker of the House, I will be the chair of the convention. I'll gavel the convention in, and I'm hoping by then that this will be a unified party. But I think a lot of the burden is on the presumptive nominee to do that, and so we'll see. That's all I've got for you.
But doesn't he have to completely revoke in order to become the man that can unite behind the principles and the policies that you support doesn't he completely have to say that he doesn't support the deportation of 12 million undocumented immigrants because you disagree with that? That he doesn't support...
No, I'm not saying that at all.
He doesn't support
I'm not saying
banning
that
all Muslims from entering the United States because you don't support that?
Well, obviously... Look, who am I? Look, I'm not saying he's got to support my policies.
You're the Speaker of the House.
He won fair and square. He won fair square on his policies. And yes, he comes from a different wing of the party than the one I do. But I got to tell you one thing, Jake. If we don't unify all wings of the party, we're not going to win this election. So the question is, what can you do to unify all wings of the party to go forward? And yes, we're going to have policy disagreements. And on the Muslim ban, I spoke out very forcefully on that. And if things like that continue, and I feel the need out of conscience to speak out, I'll do that. I hope it doesn't come to that. But the point I'm trying to make here, Jake, is, you know, you have to unify all wings of the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and then take it to the country so that America, the vast majority of Americans, non-Republicans also, have something that they're proud to support and that we're proud to be a part of. And we've got a ways to go from here to there, and that's the point I'm trying to make. So, of course you're going to have policy disagreements. You always have policy disagreements. Heck, Mitt Romney and I had policy disagreements. So that's just natural, and it is too much to ask someone to change their policy views that they were duly elected on some policy dispute. But are we putting our policies based upon the principles that all conservatives and all Republicans share? You know, limited government, the Constitution, the right role for the executive.
But that's what I meant. Those
are the things that we all believe in. And we want to make sure our standard bearer bears those standards, that our standard bearer champions those, if you want to see a unified party. And that's the point I'm trying to make, which is, I think for this to be successful, the party needs to be unified, and I think he's got some work to do. And I'm happy to help him do that.
I cited those two things not because I didn't think that you had rebuked him on the Muslim ban, the temporary ban he proposed, but because they seem to go against, in your view, the principles of the Republican Party in terms of religious liberty, in terms of free trade, in terms of deporting 12 million undocumented workers. But that's what I meant. Like, those are principles. It's not just policy disagreement. Those are principle disagreements you have with them.
We got work to do.
David Brock wrote this in the New York Times of a Trump nomination, quote, "This is a Joe McCarthy moment. People will be judged by where they stood at this time. Those who walked with Trump will be tainted forever after for the degradation of standards and the general election slaughter," unquote. Do you see it that way?
I'm not looking at it like that. I don't think it's right to think about 2017 and beyond. I'm focused on 2016 because I want 2016 in Congress to be a successful one where we actually tackle the country's big challenges and get our country back on track. I am focused on the here and the now, not the tomorrow. And just quite frankly, as a conservative, as a lifelong conservative who has shared these values all my life, I want to see our party unify, and I'd love to see our standard bearer celebrate the principles of our party, apply them to the problems, appeal to all Americans, and run a principled, solutions-based campaign that we can all be proud of. And I do believe there is work that needs to be done for that to happen. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm not worried about what's after this election. This election right now is the one we need to focus on.
And just to be clear, sir, and I hate to be that guy, I know you hate it when we ask this question, you're still ruling out...
You asked it like 3 times.
In any, no, this one, just to be clear, you're still ruling out in any way you accepting any sort of nomination of your party?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure that. And then lastly, sir, just I guess the question is, what are the odds that he's going to be able to become the candidate you want him to be? You say you have a lot of work to be done, but quite frankly, I've been covering him, I've covered you. Is this chasm bridgeable?
I think it's possible, but this isn't, look, don't say this is about me. This is about we, the Republican Party, we, the conservatives, who want a standard bearer who's going to represent all of the full spectrum of conservatism and unify all factions of the party, but not just that Republicans can be proud of, that Americans can be part of, that can compete for the vast majority of Americans so you can win the election. Like I said, we've been very successful as Republicans. One more big job ahead of us. And no less than the Supreme Court, Congress, and the future of America is at stake. And so for this to be successful, the party needs to be unified, and then we have to go out and win converts. And we have to do it in a way that appeals, that's enthusiastic. I believe that that can be done, but right now, that's not where we are, and that's where we need to get to.
How worried are you about losing the Senate and possibly even the House?
Say it again.
How worried are you about Trump dragging down Republicans running for re-election in the Senate and the House?
I just don't know that. I don't think, one thing I think you can predict of this year, it is going to be unpredictable. So I just don't think you can draw parallels or make projections at this point. So I just think you always run like everything's on the line. My focus this fall has been, and will be the House majority. That is primarily my responsibility and what I'm focused on. But I also really love this country, and I want to see us win this election so that we can fix this country's problems.
And lastly, sir, Mr. Trump said back in March that if you, he was talking about you, don't get along with him, you'll, quote, have to pay a big price. Are you worried at all?
No, I'm not worried about that.
All right, House Speaker Paul Ryan, thank you so much for your time, sir. It's always a pleasure to see you.
You bet, Jake. Have a good one. Take care.